everyone, I'm Ari here with Rachel, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 303, asking, do you need a digital detox to help your writing? Before we start, don't forget to visit and follow our coffee page. You can access lots of free goodies, and if you're in a position to support us financially, you can become a Merry Writer for $2 a month and get exclusive monthly content. Everything earned on coffee goes into keeping the show going. We really appreciate any support. Okay, we're talking digital detox. So what is a digital detox? That is when you kind of take some time away from using your devices. And honestly, it can be different levels. So for some people, it's just stepping away from maybe their phone or their social media. For others, it is a big old total detox where they stop using all their tech devices where possible. Obviously, if you have a job and you have to use them, then you have to use them. But it might mean that everywhere else you just stop using them. And if that's the case, why might you want to do a digital detox? Now, I doubt there's actually many people out there who feel really energized and excited every time they use their tech devices or visit social media. But there are some who may enjoy it for a little bit or at certain times. I mean, who doesn't get those moments of like dopamine when you're like, yay, some new video pops up or whatever? But let's be honest, there have been studies that show links to things like depression, and we don't want that. It's crap. So I will get into my sciencey part and I will do some quoting. So quote, researchers found a sudden increase in anxiety, depression, and suicide rates among teens around the time smartphones became popular. Shocker. Quote, an AMA study in 2012 also showed that constant exposure to artificial light, even low levels from computers and TV screens, can throw off circadian rhythms, causing depression and mood disorders. Again, we kind of know this.
What's circadian rhythms?
It's your sleep rhythm. It's you get some people who are naturally night owls where they'll be awake, but then they'll sleep really well during the day. That's their circadian rhythm. Most people's it is actually around the, sleep at night, wake during the day. Although it's said to be an evolutionary thing that we have different circadian rhythms, because back when we were like hunter-gatherer living in tents and caves and whatever, you would need some people in the tribe to sleep during the day, to watch at night, and vice versa, so you kept everybody in the group safe. So it's actually quite mean forcing people who have nighttime circadian rhythms where they are awake naturally at night to sleep. So they have to go for a normal job at like 9 to 5. 9 to 5. What job is 9 to 5 these days? It's more like 8 to 7. But yeah, so that's just a random point.
No, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Like I never heard that term before, but I mean, what you say makes sense. Yeah. So I can actually see how that throws off, because I can see how that throws people off, because how many people doom scroll on their phone while they're laying in bed at like 10, 11 p.m. And then when they wake up in the morning, what's the first thing they do? They reach for their phone and they doom scroll some more before rolling out of bed. So yeah, I can definitely see how that can screw the whole rhythm up.
Yeah, exactly. Because like there's a reason we turn lights off at nighttime, and even like children who have night lights on, it is encouraged that as they get older, they should stop using night lights, because light in general isn't great for sleep, not just for keeping you awake, but it doesn't let your body do what it's meant to do. So you do need darkness when you sleep. It's like literally a biological need. Where am I going with this? Give me a minute.
I'm laughing because I still use a nightlight. I'm afraid of the dark.
That's fine, and people do. But you'll find a lot of night lights have got like a certain tone. They might be a red light. They might be like a very soft tone. You don't get night lights that are usually white or light blue. That's why you also have phones that have the night colors, where if you put it on, it's like a red tone, or I think it's like an orange tone. It's the whites and the blues you want to avoid.
It's also I think it's the warm light.
Yes.
It's like a yellow. That's what I have my computer set to. I have the brightness all the way down, and then I have the warm tone set, so it's like orange.
Yeah, exactly. So you get that. It's the cool tones, the whites and the blues, that can actually mess up your thing. So they do have those other things. But I'll be honest, even on a phone, if you constantly have, if you're still using it, even with those night tones, it's still not the best, because it still keeps you awake. Let's be honest. Okay, one more quote, people. One more quote. A study by Jean Twenge, apologies if that's incorrectly pronounced, PhD, professor of psychology at San Diego State University, and colleagues found that adolescents who spent the most time on social media and the least time in face-to-face social interactions reported the most loneliness. Again, we're not really shocked by that, are we? So there is some scientific suggestion that why a digital detox would be a good idea. It's not even a secret that social media and phones have actually been designed to keep you on them, keep you scrolling and clicking. The more you use them, the more data they will gather on you and the more advert space they will sell. So while technology and social media are now so intertwined with our lives, removing them completely, while possible for some people, is not exactly easy, practical, or even wanted in some ways, it doesn't mean that stepping away isn't a bad idea. So for those of us older millennials and our, people before that, the Gen X and whatnot, who grew up straddling the world of analog and digital, we do remember what it was like before technology was so invasive in our lives. And I do use that word. It is invasive because you are technically on call 24/7, aren't you? It just is the case. When we used to leave the house, people couldn't reach you. You were just gone. You could be anywhere. Nobody could get hold of you until you returned. And even then, depends on whether you wanted to check your answering machine and call them back. Now, we all carry a phone or a tablet or a computer. You've got calls and texts and emails and notifications all blinging and beeping and demanding your attention constantly. And even if you shut them down, other people don't. Like I'll be honest, I have like no notifications on my phone other than my text and my WhatsApp. I have my volume off all the time because I'm a millennial and we just don't like that kind of noise. But it's still, I mean, the phone screen still flashes up in color when it's being, when someone's ringing me. But then you're out in the public, in the world, and all you can hear is bling, 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 bling from other people's phones. And I won't even get into the point of the new generation who just keep having their music and their programs without headphones. I mean, seriously, what the fuck, people? Who does that? But that's another thing I'm not going to complain about right now. Don't worry, people. I am getting to the end of this rantiness, I promise. Technology has been seen to affect focus and motivation and energy levels. Again, there are studies that have been done about this. And again, it's been mentioned about sleep patterns. So a detox might actually be a good thing to help you get some of that focus back, to help you be more present. I mean, how often have you been out with friends or family, or even just sitting next to your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, on a sofa, or even with your kids, and you or they are on their phones? It's like you're not exactly with them. When I go to cafes, the number of couples I see or families, and they're all on their phones. Even at times like Valentine's Day or Mother's Day or Father's Day, when obviously the whole family's gone out or a couple have gone out to celebrate these days, and all they're doing is staring at their phones individually. And you sat there thinking, like, seriously? And I'll be honest, sometimes you just sat there watching, like, oh, any minute now, I'm sure they'll look up. Nope, food's just been delivered. No one's looking up. They've put the phone down, but they're still staring at it while they eat.
Like, it's crazy the amount of times that you see that, even just when I'm home and I'm working and I look out the window and I see people taking a walk around my neighborhood, the amount of times I see people with their necks craned down and they're doing something on their phone. And now I understand that when you go out for a walk, you might be listening to music or listening to a podcast. In fact, I encourage you to listen to a podcast when going for a walk, specifically the Mary Writer podcast, just saying. But there are so many times when I see them walking and they're holding their phone with both their hands and their thumbs are going. So it's like they're clearly texting somebody. And maybe they're in the middle of a work call and they decided to go take a walk while they were on this work call, or maybe they're texting a family member or a friend that's going through some sort of crisis at the time. I don't know. But also, if you're going to go for a walk, it takes like 5 minutes. You can't put your phone down for 5 minutes and actually like enjoy the nature sounds and observe what's around you. Because the thing is, when they're staring at their phones, you never ever walk in a straight line, no matter how well you think you're doing at it. If you're looking at your phone and you're walking, you're moving diagonally. And there are so many times where they start drifting into the middle of the road. And I'm like, a car's going to come around the corner and then maybe they'll know, maybe, I mean, people drive fast in my neighborhood and it's awful. They shouldn't do that. So it's like, accidents happen. I mean, that's an extreme example, but it is true when you go out and you're at a cafe or you're at a restaurant, so many people are just on their phones. And I went out with my family not too long ago, and there was a man and a woman at another table, and they were chit-chatting with each other. And then another woman arrived with a couple of kids, and they said their hellos, and they sat down in the booth with them, and the two women started chit-chatting with each other. And after the man said hello to them, he immediately whipped out his phone, and he was on his phone the rest of the time. And I was like, wow, that's kind of rude. It's a huge pet peeve of mine when you're out with friends, even just at home watching a movie or something, and they're scrolling on their phone. It's like, could you pay attention to the movie? Or I mean, that's the problem. People are physically with you, but they're not mentally with you. And that's a problem.
Actually, you're right. I think that is worse, where one person isn't on the phone, or two people, and the other people are. I've seen that again, a couple where one of them's on the phone just for a minute, and then you sat there watching them, and it's like, it's definitely been about 20 minutes. And the other person's waiting and sat there just stirring around, and you're thinking, they're out with you and you can't give them any attention. And I've had that with people where you've been with people and they might not be on it all the time, but every time it dings, they're looking at it, and it's like instead of like an emergency phone call or anything like that, it's literally their Instagram is bleeping, and it can wait. They're out with people, and that's it. It's all gone now. That's what people do. It's the phone is. It's like what's it called? Pavlov's dog rings a bell. Ooh, phone. Ooh, phone.
Well, I was just about to say the phones have conditioned us to react whenever we hear the ding or a certain notification sound or something. And it's
How
like,
embarrassing
no,
is that?
right? And I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes too. I'm not saying I'm a saint, but that's what technology has done to us. And I cannot tell you how many times that for the longest time, because I work from home, it's very difficult to shut off work and relaxation when your office is in your home. And all of my notifications do go to my phone. And it took me so long to realize that I can turn them off at a certain time. There are some apps I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but at a certain time of day, just shut those notifications off. They'll still come through, but they won't be in your face. So that way, the next morning when you get up and you start your business hours, then you can check all the notifications. Because everything that's on your phone, like the email and stuff that's also on your computer, save it for the computer, not the phone. There are only certain times, like I keep, because Ari and I are in different time zones, I keep my email notifications on in case Ari is like, can you help me with this? Because sometimes the audio for the podcast screws up and she's like, can you resend this to me? And I try to do it as soon as possible because I know that's a pain in the butt when you're waiting on somebody. And I'm like, she's trying to be productive. So there are sometimes I make an exception for it, but that's it. Like that's for Ari because she's in a different time zone.
Yeah, it's not for everything. And that's the difference, isn't it? It's that. But I mean, we see it all the time with all sorts of things, with like how people expect everyone who posts something in the mail to turn up as quickly as Amazon does it. And the same with the phone. Because you carry your phone all the time, then you should be answering it all the time. And it's like, no, the phone is for my convenience, not your convenience. Same with the doorbell. If I don't want to answer the door and you're ringing the doorbell, please don't knock on the window. It's never urgent. It's usually some cold calling person trying to sell you some crap you don't want. And they're like, hey, I'm at the door. It's like, yeah, I know. Doesn't mean I'm going to answer it. Same with the phone. The number of times I get people going, you didn't answer your phone. And it's like, yeah, I know for a fact it wasn't an emergency because then you texted me and you asked me something random that could have waited. Why were you doing it in the middle of my workday? Why were you doing it late at night? Just because we have phones doesn't mean we should be on 24/7. I've completely lost where my notes are now. Give me a moment.
Yeah, this turned into a bit of a technology rant. But I mean, what you said earlier about how we're the generation that remembers the in-between of analog and digital. I mean, I didn't get a cell phone until I was 16 years old because cell phones were still shiny and new and it was a big deal to have one. And my parents were like, you don't need one. When you get your driver's license and you're going off yonder on your own, then you can have a cell phone. And I did not get my driver's license until I was 19. But because my sisters got There's at like 16, 17, I got a cell phone at the same time. But I mean, I used to go outside with the neighborhood kids and we'd play kickball and we would run amok in the neighborhood. And when the street lights came on, that's when we knew to go home. Or my mom would just shout out the front door. And because I don't have like a huge yard, like neighborhood, my mom would just shout out the front door and we would just hear her very faintly and we would know to come home. And I mean, those were the good old days. They really were the good old days.
Exactly. It was just playing. There was no checking on trends or this video or spending all the time sharing the same videos or memes back and forward.
Well, that's the thing. We played, we used our imagination, and we didn't film it all. We weren't doing it for the sake of posting it on social media.
Nope, thank God. Thank God.
I mean, some things we did film, but it was like just for us. There was no social media behind it. There was no views behind it. We just did it for us to look back on and laugh at the memories.
Exactly. It's weird. I actually saw something, yes, online. Don't come at me. And someone made a comment about how they liked it when the internet was this space in your house where the computer was, where the router was, and it was dial up and you couldn't be on the phone and you would go on it and then you would do your stuff and then you would leave. And that little piece of internet just stayed there in your house. You didn't carry it with you wherever you were going. So you only used it in this one area. And then you left it there because it was, the false reality. Then you went back to the real world. And now it feels like this is the false reality and everything's online. And it just says it all that that's how it is. And before anyone comes at us, we're not Luddites. We don't want to completely get rid of technology. I don't want to go back to a typewriter when I'm typing my novels. I make too many errors to have to re-edit with a typewriter. But I also don't like the fact that it surrounds us in every single way. Just like I don't want Wi-Fi on my dishwasher or my washing machine or my fridge or any of that nonsense. So I'm kind of in the middle between being okay with technology and absolutely hating it. But let's go back to what this actual episode was about. I don't even know. Let's just move on to benefits of a detox. I think the obvious is less distraction, giving you a better chance of actually getting into flow. And if you don't know what flow is, it's that kind of deep work state where you're kind of in the zone. I'm sure as writers we've all done that, and you get in the moment and you just can't stop writing and it's going really well. You get more chances to be in the zone and in the flow if you aren't constantly distracted by your phone or your email or any other notification. I mean, I have a lot of notifications shut off again on my computer, but my backup tells me every time when it's done something and it pings up. So even little things like that, they're just always around. The other one is reduction of noise. And by that, I don't mean just the bleeps and dings and music videos and flashing imagery you get on Instagram. Like every post has got music on, and most of it's terrible, if I'm honest. Again, I never put my volume on Instagram if I can help it. But just like the visual noise as well of tech, all the bright colors and pop-ups and everything, it gets rid of that too. This is going to be a weird one. Delayed gratification. Deciding that watching a movie is okay, but with no phone. That means that when you realize that there's an actor on the screen that you don't know what else he's been in, you have to just wait because you've no phone and you can't check IMDb. And also, it's kind of good resilience training. And you might even be able to power that brain up and remember what that actor was in without having to instantly go to the phone and check. And yes, I do this a lot. This is why I try not to take my phone when I'm watching movies, because I will stop every 2 minutes and go, oh, what's he been in? I don't even know why I feel the need to do that.
I do the same thing.
Why do we do it? Why?
I don't know. It's the curiosity, I think.
But I used to love trying to remember, and they'd be like, don't tell me. And then me and my partner would try and guess what he'd been in and who would get it first. And then we just stopped doing that and we just instantly checked IMDb. So hopefully that would go. I mentioned it before, being present, actually being around people, even with yourself, knowing what's going on, seeing what's going on, listening to people, being listened to. These are definitely important. We talked about the loneliness that people see. This one of the studies mentioned loneliness. And the loneliness has increased since we connected with the world. You'd think it wouldn't, because look, we're connected with all these people, spread all over the globe. But instead, we have got less connected in a different way. the fact is we were even less connected with people in our lives because of it. There is this loneliness epidemic going on. There's this loneliness that we all have. I say all, but yeah, it is kind of I think most people have some form of loneliness.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to add, I think COVID had a huge hand in this. I think, the digital age was on the rise before COVID, but I think COVID and the whole pandemic just made it worse because we were forced to be online in order to connect with people. We couldn't leave the house. We couldn't do anything. And because of that, even when things started opening up again and we were able to leave the house, even like we had to social distance from each other for a little while and we had to wear masks. And there was like it had this whole trickle effect. And even when things got back to a quote unquote normal, so many things stayed the same from the pandemic because there's still many people that are afraid to leave their house and they're afraid of getting sick. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's, that's if you're like that, you're like that. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. But there are some people that are afraid to leave the house. And then there are some people that just prefer not to leave the house because now they got a taste of what it's like to work from home. So they prefer to work from home and they're still able to work from home depending on their job, if their job allows that. And if their job doesn't allow it, then they get angry and because they would rather work from home. And sometimes they'll even just quit their job and they'll get a work from home job. So it kind of created that distance and that loneliness because of COVID. Like we kind of enjoyed it during the pandemic and we've been latching onto it. And I think that's part of the reason why nothing's gone back to normal. So many people complain that things aren't normal anymore. But part of that is because when we tried to get back to normal, nobody wanted to accept that normalcy anymore. And I think it just has this weird domino effect. And I think this would have happened anyway, if I'm brutally honest, because as I said, the digital age was on the rise before COVID, but I think COVID sped up the process. And that kind of just created a whole set of new problems for us and our relationship with technology and our relationship with other people. Hopefully that all made sense.
That did, exactly. Yeah. COVID made a big difference and it has changed a lot of things. I don't think many people realized how impactful it would be rippling out even after it went. And like, obviously, it's still around, but not as bad as how it was back in the actual pandemic depth. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird how things like that, no one expects it to, but then suddenly it does change everything. The cat is being weird, so I feel like something's gone on. Do you want to mention the last 2 points on that benefits part while I go and deal with it?
No problem. I'll continue through Ari's list about the benefits of a digital detox. And one of the other things is posture, because we don't want to end up with bent neck posture, constantly hunkered over our phones and laptops. And we say that because you can actually give yourself a hunchback, and that could give you a whole slew of health problems. You don't want to have any problems with your neck. That is a big no-no. It's uncomfortable and it could have trickling effects for your whole body. And we just don't want that. And finally, having to handwrite things creates new neural pathways and aids in memory retention. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch upon because I already made this list. But I just want to touch upon that I think all together, all of these benefits work together in improving your attention span. Because let's be real, none of us have long. None of us have long attention spans anymore. And the memory retention, we can't remember anything anymore. I feel like for me, I'm in a brain fog so often, and that's due to other reasons, but I'm pretty sure the digital stuff and social media and stuff probably has a lot to do with it. And there was something else I was going to say. There was another reason, but I don't remember what it was. So I'll just wait for Ari to get back. What the hell was I going to say? I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me in a couple of minutes. Oh, and another way that all these benefits can work together is it increases your observation skills. Like, as I mentioned earlier, I've seen many people taking a walk around my neighborhood and their faces are in their phones. and they have zero clue what's going on around them. And you can say the same thing if you're sitting at a cafe and you have your cup of coffee and you're just scrolling on your phone. You are completely unaware of what's going on around you. And, you want to observe your surroundings for safety reasons, but also, if you're taking a walk, nature is cool. Go take a look at some bugs or something. That's all. That was a really shit explanation. Oh, well.
I agree with all of that. No comments. Okay, so with that, let's move on to how to do a digital detox. I think first of all, you have to decide for yourself what level of detox you want. As I mentioned, maybe you just want to stop using your phone. Maybe you want to step away from social media. Maybe you want to have a whole ban of devices. There's been a number of people who've done that. If you look on Google and whatnot, it'll say like people have like said, my life, my year without technology can actually be quite useful to give you some ideas. Obviously, it does depend on work, life, schedule. Doing a full detox might not be possible, especially, the world forces us to use it. Kind of do banking these days without having to use your phone, even if you're in the bank with them. You do need to be realistic. And you also need to think about how horrible as this is, how addicted you are to your devices. It's all well and good saying, yes, I'm going to, for like 8 months, I'm going to go off everything. Are you able to actually do that? Are you going to have massive withdrawal symptoms? Do you need to ease into it? So definitely come up with the level you want, like what sort of things you want to detox, and also maybe a time frame. Give yourself a time frame. It doesn't have to be a long detox. It could be every weekend. It could be a week. It could be 2 weeks. It could be months. It could be a year. It could be forever. Who knows?
As Ari mentioned, try to have a schedule with it, because if you need to cut back on social media time, I have an iPhone and you can go into the individual apps and set a timer of sorts. So for example, I have Instagram set for 30 minutes a day. The problem with that is you have to be really strong and you have to have good discipline to listen to it, because when it tells you that time's up, it gives you 3 options. You can either say, okay, give me 1 more minute, or give me 15 more minutes, or ignore for the rest of the day. And by ignore, I mean ignore the time constraint. And, there are some days where I'm like, oh, okay, it's been 30 minutes. I've been on this a lot longer than I thought, and I'm good for the day. And then there are other days that I just keep hitting the 15-minute button. And every time it reminds me after 15 minutes, I'm like, no, go away. I'm just going to keep scrolling anyway. And that's not good. So you got to be really disciplined with it. But you also have to keep in mind that we are writers. We kind of need social media if we're going to market our books and we're going to connect with other writers and readers and yada, yada, yada. And a lot of that is done on Instagram, at least for me anyway, because I hate all social media and Instagram. Whatever, that's another rant. So there are times where I am actually being productive on Instagram for myself, and the 30-minute timer pops up and I'm like, no, I'm actually doing something, and I'll hit the ignore for the rest of the day and I will have plenty of time to finish what I need to finish up. You kind of have to think about the level of need for the social media depending on what you're using it for. So I mean, when we say digital detox, we're not talking about, screw work. We're saying like, just you got to cut back on the doom scrolling and stuff. We're not saying doom scrolling is bad all the time. Sometimes you do really need to do it to just kind of decompress and rest, but little bits at a time. Don't be doing it for 6 hours straight. That's no good.
Yeah, exactly. I think having a specific time, and I think start small, especially if you've never done it before, or if you are a little bit more addicted to your devices. So you could say, okay, use it all day, use it in the morning, in the evening, put it aside, lock it away. Don't just, I'm going to put it down next to me on the sofa. Don't do that. You will reach for it automatically without even realizing it. Put it in a cupboard, switch it off, take it out of the room. And if you're going to do this, make it easier on yourself and decide what you're going to replace it with before you do your detox. Are you going to do more reading? Are you going to play cards or board games? Are you going to spend some time visiting friends, going for walks, do some baking? If you're not sure, go online and look for, I appreciate I've just said online after we've just this, but this is before the detox, so I'm okay. And find a list of fun things you can do to replace scrolling on your phone. you could even say, well, I'm not going to be on my phone or social media, but I'm going to watch TV. But then don't just randomly flick through the streaming service. You have to have picked a movie or a TV series, and then you sit and you watch it with intention. I think it's a lot of times it's this kind of, we fall passively into watching the TV, watching our screens. There's no intention behind it, and that's where a lot of this can come. Because if you don't have a plan, you will sort of find yourself sitting around thinking about what to do, just like you do when you're sitting there thinking what movie to watch, and then you spend 40 minutes scrolling to find a good movie on Netflix, and there aren't any. And then you start to feel the loss of the phone, of social media, of whatever. So having a plan of, right, on Monday evenings, we're going to play board games. On Tuesday evenings, we're going to do some baking. And tell yourself, what are you going to bake? Find out that. Don't say baking. Make sure you've got a plan. You've got everything in. Because the last thing you want to do is go, oh, we've no flour. Guess I'll get my phone out. No. So try and plan for this situation. Yeah, as much as you can. That's what I learned, because when I did my first digital detox, I just kept sitting around thinking, what should I do? And I'd be like, maybe I'll just, no, don't touch it. Oh, I'll just, no. And I was constantly drawn to the phone, and it was terrible. So yeah, plan it.
No, that's a mood. It is a mood, because sometimes I'm like, I got to put my phone down, and then I sit there doing absolutely nothing because I'm like, I don't know what to do. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. Sometimes just sitting with empty space in your head is totally fine, because how often do you get to just completely shut down your brain? It's not very often, at least not for me. I can tell you that much right now. But I have to say, I do agree with Ari when she says to, not have the phone on the nightstand next to you while you're sitting on the couch. Put it away somewhere, put it in another room, because you will be tempted to grab it. Literally, Ari got up in the middle of recording to go check on her cats. And while she was gone, I checked my phone. And the moment I picked it up, I was like, what am I doing? What am I checking for? Nothing. There's nothing on here. But I can't just sit for 30 seconds while Ari checks on something. It's crazy. And my cousins are over for dinner multiple nights a week, and we usually watch a movie or we play games or something. And I have actually started to just leave my phone upstairs in my room. And sometimes I don't even keep it on. I shut it down and then I leave it upstairs, because everybody I talk to is here. So what do I need my phone for? So I highly recommend that if it's evening, or, whenever your downtime typically is, just put your phone in another room. Over time, you'll stop thinking about it.
Yeah, it's that concept of making it a few extra steps difficult. It's like they say, if you need your phone for an alarm, no, you don't. Get an alarm clock. But if you really can't buy an alarm clock and you have to use your phone, then you put it at the other end of the room. So you have to get up to knock it off. Yes, you could come straight back to bed, but the act of getting up makes it less likely. You just add those extra difficult steps. And that's what you should do when you're trying to get rid of something. If you're trying to build a habit, you make it as easy as possible. You want to go to the gym, then you get your gym clothes out, you get your shoes out, all ready, so that there's no excuse. You can't be like, well, I don't know where my gym clothes are. Nope, they're there. When you're trying to get rid of something, it's the other thing. Make it as difficult as possible. Lock it in a box, hide it in a cupboard, get somebody else to hide your phone, and you'll never know where it is.
All you have to do is just keep your phone out of your pocket. Like, really, when you're home and you're going down to the kitchen for something, you don't need to carry your phone with you to go get a snack. You don't need to carry your phone with you in the bathroom.
No.
Okay. I'm going to say that right now, because we all know you do it. I'm calling each and every one of you out right now. Just saying.
It just shows that we're so addicted to the point where it's like, you can't move from room to room without going, where's my phone? Where did I put my phone? It's like, are you waiting for a call? No, then leave the fucking phone alone. You don't need it.
Have you ever felt your phone vibrate in your pocket and it didn't actually vibrate?
No, because I don't really have many pockets. Most of my clothes don't have pockets. So I just carry it around and put it down.
How do you survive if you don't have pockets?
Yeah, most women's clothing isn't made with pockets. It's so hard to find clothes with pockets.
Oh, I know, but I understand that. I struggle with that too. But I mean, I wear jeans a lot because they have pockets.
I don't fit my jeans anymore. And they're so comfy, I'm not ready to get new jeans. And And also, I don't know about you, but our jean pockets aren't big enough to fit the phone. It's too big. Don't fit.
No, they're not. They're not deep enough. I put them in my back pocket, or I have to put my phone in my back
I
pocket.
don't do that because I will sit down and crack it because I will not remember it's in there right up until I sit on it and I break it and then I'm like, that's an expensive phone. So no.
Well, see, that's part of the problem because I can't sit with my phone in my back pocket either. So that's why I take it out and then I put it on the table or wherever, whenever I sit. So that makes it even more difficult because now it's definitely in my face.
Oh yeah, like literally my phone is right next to me, face up. I don't know why. I'm podcasting. The only thing I should be doing is reading the script and watching for Rachel to wave her hand saying, I've got a point. I don't need my phone, but it's literally next to me on the off chance. And I don't even like it when people ring for an emergency. So I don't know why I've got it.
Yeah.
Now, as I've just said all this, I'm going to have a little mini thing where I say, work with your means. Okay? So, since I lost my sister, I can't sleep without listening to a movie or a TV series. In fact, it has to be a very specific, like 2 or 3 movies or a specific TV series. Otherwise, I just can't sleep. And I've been like that for like 5 years now. So it's not changing anytime soon. However, I put my phone on airplane mode, and those movies/TV series that I need to listen to fall asleep are on download in my phone. So it's not going to keep sending me on millions of other, I'm not listening to loads of movies. All it takes is you put a movie on, I fall asleep within 10 minutes, and then the movie just runs through and then it shuts off. I can't say, well, I'm not going to use my phone because I will need it for that. And yes, I'm sure there's ways I could try. I have tried, and so far nothing has worked. And having really bad insomnia isn't great, especially when you've got shit to do. So that's my thing. I have to have my phone at night because that's what I've got my movies on. But I try not to use it for anything else. I try not to pick it up in the morning. I fail miserably, I admit that. And that's one of the problems I'm always going to have because the phone has to be there for sleep. And then in the morning, the first thing I do is grab it, put the turn airplane mode off, and then I'm scrolling. I need to fix that problem. So, but again, work with your means. If you need to have your phone because maybe you are on call, maybe you have family members who sometimes need to call in the middle of the night because, there are incidents or requirements that need you. Don't be like, I'm going to just not answer. It's like if you're needed, then do it. So yeah, don't cut everything off if you actually can't do that.
See, I need to watch TV to fall asleep as well. I have a TV in my room, and I don't necessarily agree with having a TV in the bedroom. That's just a personal preference of mine. But I kind of need it to fall asleep. So I have one. And the reason I have that is because I don't want to sleep with my phone on or my iPad on all night. So I turn the TV on and then I set the sleep timer on for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And most of the time I fall asleep within 15 minutes and, whatever. But I shut my phone off completely at night. A lot of times I'll shut it off in the early evening at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. or something because no one's really talking to me. I don't have to talk to anybody. And I still have a landline in my house. So most people that if there's an emergency or something, they call the house phone. So I don't need my phone on. And also I still live with my parents. So if there is a real emergency, they're probably going to call my parents' cell phone before they call mine. So I shut my phone off completely at night. And that has actually helped me with the doom scrolling in the morning because there are times where I don't think about my phone when I get up because I don't want to wait for it to turn on. So I just leave it be. And then I'm up for like 3-4 hours and I'm like, oh man, I should probably turn my phone on and see if somebody's trying to reach out to me. So my phone is usually off for like a good 10 to 12 hours.
That's good though. It's like the fact you actually have that so you aren't messing. Because I think that the first thing in the morning, so many people just reach for their phone and then they delay getting out of bed and they're messing. And the first light they get in their eyes is this blue screen again. It's not natural daylight, and you need natural daylight in your eyes for the first like 10 minutes you wake up to actually wake your system up. It's one of the best things you can do. But how many of us climb out of bed, open the curtains, and stare at the light? No, we don't. We sit in the dark with our phone, messing around. It's not bad.
See, I like waking up to the natural light. So sometimes, depending on the season, because, the sun rises at different times and stuff, I'll sleep with my shades cracked open a little bit so that the natural light will come in and naturally wake me up. And I think it's glorious and I love it. I also pet sit. So when I'm pet sitting, I'm obviously home alone and pretty much nobody has landlines anymore. So I will keep my phone on overnight in case somebody needs to reach me, or, God forbid there's an emergency and I need to reach them quickly. Again, I have an iPhone, so I have the do not disturb on, and it turns on at 9 p.m. every night. But for those of you who don't know, you can set the settings so that the do not disturb is kind of like null and void for certain people. So I have the do not disturb. It shuts off all text messages, all notifications, except for my parents, my sisters, and my 2 cousins. Because if they need to get in touch with me for whatever reason, and I'll turn the volume up on my phone so that I can hear it. But otherwise, I try not to touch it. I do more doom scrolling when I pets it, though.
Understandable though, it's like you're there in somebody else's house, so it's not like you can just like, just do a lot of things. It's understandable. Although what you should do is take a nice big stack of books from your TBR pile and just read through them.
I do. That's my morning routine whenever I pets it. I read in the morning. If I read at night, then it makes me too sleepy. Which sounds backwards, because obviously we're supposed to sleep at night, but I mean that in the sense that I would never get through an entire chapter. In the morning, that's when I have more energy, so I can actually comprehend what I'm reading.
Good point. See, this works with the whole, if you can't remove it, restrict it. Whether it's make a rule that when you're with people, you are present and you do not have your phone. Make it a rule that at the end of the workday, you find other methods to decompress, because we always use that as an argument. Well, I need it to decompress. I just don't want to think about anything. There are other methods you can use. Find something else to decompress with. Or, as Rich said, give yourself a time limit, right? You got 30 minutes to decompress with the phone, then you put it down and do something else. Even if it's going to have a nap, whatever. But yeah, so if you can't remove, restrict. And the final point I want to make is track it. It can actually be really useful if you spend, say, maybe a week or so tracking your use of your phone or other devices before you decide to do a detox. And it's always more surprising than you realize. So most phones have a setting where you can go in and it tells you how long it is. For mine, it says like, device well-being and health. And it tells me how often I've been on the phone and which apps I have used the most. And wow, that is always upsetting. No matter how many times I think, I've only been on X number of time. It's usually about 10 times longer than that because we don't notice. So maybe write that down. Take a week, make a note of all the things you are on, how long you've spent on during the days, during the weeks. And also add how you're feeling each day. And then when you start your detox, make a note every day about what you did instead and how you feel or how you felt during the day. Now, you might find at the beginning you've got some withdrawal symptoms because that is a thing, and you might feel a bit agitated or even anxious. But depending on how long you do a detox for, it's actually interesting to see how that can change and how different it is. Now, again, everyone is different, so you don't know what it's going to be like. But when I did mine, I found the first few days, in fact, I think the first week I did it, I was constantly reaching for the phone that wasn't there. I was getting stressed a lot. I kept feeling like I was missing something. And it just shows you are programmed with these damn machines to feel certain things. Were designed to be on there, scrolling, gathering information. They're gathering our information. We are addicted to these dopamine hits, but then we end up with a depletion of dopamine, which leaves us feeling like crap. So you have to let your body rebuild it and, find dopamine in other places and a more better situation. And obviously it's great if you're into journaling. This sort of tracking can be really good. But I would definitely suggest doing that and then seeing how you feel. And then if you do go back to your devices, spend another week writing down how you feel. And you might start seeing a pattern like, wow, I'm really anxious when I'm on my phone and I'm less anxious. Or wow, I was partially anxious at the beginning, then when I knew the detox was coming, it was calming down. And I was really stressed at the beginning of the detox. And again, you might be different. You might be completely stressed all the time you're on the detox and then really calm with your phone. Who knows? But just track it, see what you find, and then use that data to make better choices.
I concur. But I did want to add, this is just like a quick little caveat, and like I'll try to make a long story short. Earlier we mentioned about how it's not good to be on the phone when you're in the presence of others and you're with your friends and your family members and stuff like that. I do want to add that we don't mean this in the sense, like we don't literally everything that we say in this entire podcast, we're not saying for everybody. We're not targeting a specific group or anything like that. I just want to add that if you're someone who has ADHD, for example, being on your phone might actually help you. I have a friend who has ADHD, and when we're playing Dungeons and Dragons, she's on her phone like the majority of the time, or sometimes she crafts, but other times she's on her phone, but she's actually paying attention. If she wasn't on her phone, she would have zero clue what's going on at the table. And the phone actually helps her. So in that case, if that's what helps her and she's still present, even though it doesn't look like it, that's fine. But on the other hand, I know somebody else who uses their phone to cope with their ADHD, and they completely block out their entire surroundings. You could be talking to them, you could be poking them, and they would have zero clue that you're right there, that you're like a foot away from them. Again, with everything that we say in this podcast, take what resonates with you and leave whatever doesn't. But we do think that in this day and age, since it's 2026, a digital detox and finding that balance with digital and, just fresh air is a good thing to try to figure out to help you mentally and physically.
I think that's a good wrap. Yeah, I agree with that. Good point. Okay, with all of that, now we want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever done a digital detox, or are you considering it? Let's chat about it in the comments. Remember, we do release new episodes every Wednesday. Next week, we're discussing having a newsletter as an author. To ensure you don't miss it, hit the subscribe button on your way out. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com and our coffee page for more content. Thanks for listening to the Merry Writer Podcast. We'll see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by Writing Goals. We set too many. The music, titled Inspired, is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.